Hello everyone, welcome again. This is Dominika talking from studio in Vienna, and our next guest is Michiel. He's originally from Belgium, but right now actually he's staying and doing his research in Vienna. So welcome Michiel.
Thank you.
And please tell us something more about your research and where you are based right now, about your institution.
Like you already mentioned, my home base now is in Vienna, right here, in the very building where we have the recording at the moment. And like you said, I'm originally from Belgium, and actually still KU Leuven is my second institute.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have also STU in Bratislava, which is very close to Vienna. It's a different city for sure, but still only 1 hour by train. So mostly in Vienna, but I'm a little bit all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us something more about your research, like about your topic?
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to study the subjective aspect of sound insulation. So we live in buildings, and the outdoor environment can be quite noisy, especially in our cities. There's lots of traffic noise, but also noise from restaurants, noises from bars, noise from parties, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're inside our buildings, we would very much like it to be nice and quiet and peaceful. And the materials and the technologies we use to construct our buildings, they greatly affect how the sound enters our buildings, or which parts of the sound enter our buildings. And this also affects how we perceive the sounds that enter our buildings. And this specifically is what I'm trying to study: how the materials and technologies of our buildings affect our perception of the sound entering our buildings.
Cool, very interesting. Can you tell us very briefly, like, which kind of research gaps are you trying to cover with your research?
This aspect of working with people is something that I notice is very much, perhaps not lacking, but could very much be improved in the existing literature. I feel like there have been some people considering our perception with regard to sound insulation, but it was always the engineering approach.
Mm-hmm.
It was always looked upon from very much a physics point of view. And this is what I'm trying to add to the existing research, to better consider that we are people and that we don't work as a measurement instrument.
That's very nice. Well, you mentioned that you have already been working on this topic for more than 1 year. Are there any adventures within your PhD life that you would like to share with us, like some super interesting memories?
Yeah, I absolutely love all of the conferences and all of the training schools we also have in this project.
Mm-hmm.
It's always incredibly nice to, well, first of all, travel to a different place, but then also to meet people from all around the world, but also from really all different fields of research. Acoustics sounds like quite specific already, but in the end you have people from medicine, people from engineering, people from psychology, also people from biology. It's such an incredibly diverse field, and this I find incredibly interesting, and this is always a big adventure for me every time I leave for a conference.
That's super cool. Well, I'm curious, like, how do you envision your research contribution to the overall goal of ACTA Rebuild? Because, like, still, like, we need to mention that your research is covered by ACTA Rebuild project. So, can you tell us something more about this?
Yeah, sure. Well, the ACTA Rebuild project, it's focused on the retrofit of the office building stock. So this focuses on taking old office buildings, changing them so they can be used as living areas.
Mm-hmm.
And as some of you might know, the requirements for offices are not the same as for living areas. For example, regarding sound insulation, for your bedroom, it's more important to be quiet than for an office room. What many of the other people in the ACTA Rebuild project are dealing with is developing new materials for these purposes. But these new materials, we need to know how to evaluate them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I am focusing on how we should evaluate the sound insulation. It's indirectly making sure that the other people in the project are developing materials which are not only better than the ones that already exist regarding sustainability and thermal aspect, but also regarding acoustics.
Are you working on something specific at the moment right now?
At the moment, I'm very much doing listening tests. So there we present people with different sounds, and we try to get a reaction from them. This is still very much a work in progress, but I've been doing those tests very regularly.
Within the Actor Rebuild project, I think that most of the topics are like interdisciplinary project, let's say. So, well, if it's also like your case, can you please tell us like what are the advantages of the interdisciplinary approach within the Actor Rebuild project?
Most definitely. My own background is from engineering. I am a civil engineer, and this aspect of perception is more psychological, and this was entirely new to me. But I also noticed that it's still very new to the field of research in its entirety. And this is the incredible value of it. We design our buildings for us to live in, so we should evaluate them according to their influence on us. And this is something that is still largely perhaps not forgotten about, but we are not entirely sure yet how to do this. By having these interdisciplinary DCs, we also introduce this interdisciplinary research to the field in general, which is incredibly important.
Very interesting. Well, and on the other hand, like for now we were talking about, let's say, positive aspects, but I'm also curious, like if you have already experienced some difficulties during your PhD life that you would like to share with us.
For me, the biggest challenge has been to keep communicating with everyone. It's quite a large project, and I also have 3 different institutes, which has a very big advantage because you can combine the knowledge of 3 different places into one research.
Yeah.
But it's also a challenge to do this, and it takes lots of incentive and energy to continue to talk and to make sure that everybody's up to date.
Are you planning any collaboration with other institutes? You already mentioned that actually you are somehow like split into like 3 different institutions, but in the future, are you planning to also cooperate with someone else?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, in my research, I'm trying to set a little bit the guidelines for the other products or materials that the other DCs are developing. So as soon as other DCs have created something, I am planning to directly evaluate those materials in my research as well. So there will be a direct interaction with the others from this project.
I'm curious, like if you can already compare how your life changed when you moved to another country, like concerning your like professional life, but also personal life.
It for sure changed entirely. It was not my first experience living abroad. I also did an Erasmus exchange during my studies, and this made me a little bit more confident when I had to move initially. But I have thought about this a lot. I've reflected on this a lot, and moving into a different culture, not having any date when you would move back, so let's say permanent, it's a whole different thing. You make more local friends. You're more completely submerged in the culture. I'm also learning the language a little bit, and it's opening new dimensions of living in this new culture. On top of that, before I was living in Belgium, I was living in Antwerp, and now I'm living in Vienna. The city is roughly twice the size, and this also changes the experience entirely.
Would you recommend like this PhD experience also to young researchers?
Yes, absolutely. In my opinion, it's the perfect way to develop yourself personally, gain all of these experiences of moving somewhere else, but at the same time have a job in which is very much focused on improving yourself as well. It's incredibly valuable. Most definitely, I would recommend it.
Well, we are going to the end of our discussion today, so I have the last question. Well, just imagine like in a few years when you will finish your PhD, in the best dreams, how is your PhD final project going to look like? What do you think?
It will be a big challenge, but ideally I will have learned so much about how the sound insulation affects our perception of these noises that I could put it in a formula, in a very simple and short formula that we can use to describe the performance of the sound insulation. And I don't know if it will be possible, but it would be nice if this formula could also be in some way standardized and perhaps used in legislation, so we can be sure that how we are building is accurately evaluated according to the influence it has on us.
So thank you very much for your time. I will just make a small recap. So today in studio with me was Michiel, originally from Belgium, but right now staying mostly in Vienna. Please stay tuned within our Actor Rebuild podcast named Voices of Actor Rebuild. You can find us on our social media like Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And see you next time.